Welcome to the party. I'm Sam Ekstrom of Locked On Sports Minnesota. Before the show is over, we will utter the names Corey Vedvik and Chris Herndon.
I'm Luke Braun of Locked On Vikings. Kwesi has a new deal. Hope nobody was insane about that.
What's happening, Luke Inman at Luke_Spinman? Hey, let's start normalizing JJ McCarthy's arm strength and watching Minnesota Lynx games. Can we please do that?
Hey, this is Arif Hasan with Wide Left. My power is dead, much like I hope Luke Braun will be.
Locked On Sports Minnesota Podcasts. It's endless Minnesota Vikings talk with the diverse voices of your local experts. It's time for the Minnesota Football Party. It's your guys hanging out talking next level Vikings football. So join in with Arif Hasan, Locked On Vikings Luke Braun, Superior Sports Talk's Luke Inman, and Vikings insider Sam Ekstrom, plus the biggest names in Minnesota football for the Minnesota Football Party. And it starts now.
What's up? Happy Monday. Happy June. It's the Minnesota Football Party on Locked On Sports Minnesota. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making us your first watch or listen, perhaps, of the week. You can find us now streaming live on the Locked On Vikings page, and our audio is on the Locked On Vikings podcast feed wherever you get your podcasts. We've got a Kwesi Adofo-Mensah extension to discuss today.
Play the sound, play the sound, play the sound, play the sound.
That's Arif Hasan, everybody.
It is. Not technically Vikings news, but Minnesota news. Lions All-Pro Pro Bowl center Frank Ragnow, Minnesota's own Frank Ragnow, has decided to retire.
Whoa!
That's big. That's big. Now, was that from Adam Schefter?
I double-checked. It's from
Schefter.
Rap Sheet. No, it's from Rap Sheet. This one has 4.8 million followers and follows me, so I know it's the real Rap Sheet.
Now, Ragnow's had, first let me finish the roadmap. Internal branding. This is the roadmap as I describe what's going to happen in the show. Career year candidates for the Vikings. We revisit Will Raggotz's good article on the worst Vikings trades of the last 10 years. This will be a fun one. Also, the wide receiving FanDuel lines are out for the Vikings. Now back to Frank Ragnow. Breaking news, NFC North related, kind of big. I mean, they lost a starting
massive.
lineman in
It's
free agency.
huge.
Now they
Yeah.
lose
He's
another
29.
pretty late in the equipment. Now, Ragnow has been like super warrior, right? I mean, he's had like broken clavicles and he's played through broken ribs. Yeah, like he's been an absolute dog, but that catches up with you. And what does his contract look like, guys? If you can look that up, I'd be curious how much he had left on that. I imagine it was a fairly sizable sum. That's a pretty big hit for this time of year for the Lions.
Yeah, I'm guessing June 2nd is not a coincidence as the day you announce that, the day you do that. If I had to guess about the contract, but I mean, God, that's shocking.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like
that's
the crazy.
crazy.
He was injured a lot, but wow, 29 people have played through a lot more and kept going. But yeah, there's an Instagram post.
I'm
looking
at their
like,
depth,
can't
and
do it anymore.
it's pretty weak. I don't know any of these guys. You know, besides
I mean, it's
Dan
probably
Skipper,
Graham-
right? But
Yeah, that's true.
Don't
It's
open our
probably,
labs, man. Don't open our
don't do
labs.
it. Don't
I
do
would
it.
never.
Don't do it.
Do it.
I would
It's-
not this early.
it's-
Not this early.
It's probably Graham Glasgow
Uh,
kicking inside then, but like, I mean, Ragnow was in contention to be like the best center in the league, right?
Yeah,
like, I
no,
just feel like
he's been a stud.
that's that's a stunning move.
They drafted
So
in
you
their
mentioned-
second
you
round
mentioned-
pick Tate Ratledge. So maybe he fills in for Graham Glasgow
Maybe.
at guard and Glasgow. To your
Yeah.
point, Arif, good
Yeah.
call out. Maybe Glasgow slides in, but yeah, a lot of shuffling already.
I agree with
Sloth,
Sloth.
I
I
think-
think he's their more.
I think it's a good
important
point.
lineman.
So Slot says for our audio listeners that hot take, he's been their most important lineman, even more than Decker and Sewell. I don't know how hot of a take that is. I think that's a really good point.
Yeah.
That he is a substantially important lineman for the way that they play and just how good he is and how important he is to kind of setting up the way that they manage their run game. One of the most run-forward teams in the league. So, yeah, absolutely. This is crazy news.
I think I've gone on Locked On Lions and called him the best center in the league. Like, I think that's
fair.
So massively impactful to the Lions. Like, that is a load-bearing pillar of their whole, like, deal.
I mean, who's better? Top of your head, who's better right now? And I know Creed Humphrey gets thrown around a lot, but this dude's been doing it for a decade. Like that's what it feels like, anyway.
And the thing about Ragnow versus Humphrey is that Ragnow is good at snapping the ball, which, like, first of all, what a credit to Creed Humphrey that being a weakness does not disqualify him from being a candidate for best center in the league. But I think that is probably the closest that we can identify. I can't think of any other centers that I'd probably put in that conversation.
Yeah.
Cameron Rolfe says Brian Kelly for sure. That's a good point. Cameron.
Yeah, Garrett Bradbury. Sam, since you asked,
Brett Jones,
there's no guaranteed salary on this, so it's all just like old bonus proration. There's only 2 years left, so
they knew
post June 1st. They, I mean, this is the 5th year of a 6-year contract, so that's kind of how
they value this deal.
That's probably why they didn't. He wasn't aggressive about renegotiating that contract.
Maybe, yeah. So they're saving 9.
Almost never get to the 5th year of a 6-year deal.
But they'll eat 4.8 mil now and 3.6 mil next year on it.
Yeah, that's not bad from a financial standpoint.
But it's
yeah. So based on the date, like you projected, probably a little bit preordained or pre-planned. The Lions probably knew about this. I would guess not a surprise to them. I don't know if they addressed it though. I don't know if they went out and
apparently
thing.
They just have a guy. They just have a big long contract here at the end of. That's just how they get structured.
Yeah, apparently Tate Ratledge was apparently Tate Ratledge was getting first team reps at center in OTAs. So something to keep in mind, I guess.
Okay.
Well, that's big. That shakes up the NFC North a little bit, and the newly coordinated Detroit Lions. Thank you for that sounder to wake us up. Yes, Macho Meech, we're all awake now. Arif, who by the way, powerless at his home is
electricity wise. Otherwise,
I figured. What did you finagle together to join us today?
I pulled out my laptop. My laptop's running on battery power. My laptop is notoriously a power hog, so this will be interesting. When I was at the Senior Bowl, I pulled out my laptop. I plugged it into a post that did not have power running into it. So partway through the show, when I was at the Senior Bowl, I did have to find another thing to plug the laptop into just to last the whole hour. Now, I did turn down the screen brightness, so we'll see if that's going to help with getting to the hour mark. But yeah, I'm on my phone's hotspot right now. And also, this is kind of a dead zone for Verizon. So we'll see. I think I already clipped out a little bit.
This is a test for Verizon right here. This is a test.
Yeah.
Right here.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So what's your juice at right now? What are you at?
Let's find out. We are at 80% remaining. Oh, we're not going to make it, boys.
Were we at 100 when we started?
I thought that was great.
We were probably at like 95, 93 or something like that.
We're not pumped about 80.
Well, for sure, Arif, don't open our lads. I mean, that'll drain your
battery. Our lads actually boosts your battery, dude. Try it. It actually boosts it. Try it out.
Hey, you can make your computer faster by hitting Alt F4, you know?
How many tabs do you have right now?
Hey, memory does not consume that much power, all right, Ollie?
All right. Kwesi Adofo-Mensah over the weekend. The deal is done. And I have not seen the term. Kevin Seifert didn't have the term in the release 2 days ago. I don't know if it broke sense. I don't think it has. Probably, though, it's give or take a year of the Kevin O'Connell 5-year extension, I would think. Yeah. Those two probably fairly tied at the hip. My theory, as I've expressed before, I still believe that KOC and Kwesi would have signed this deal in conjunction with each other had it not been for the nonsense trade rumors about KOC. I think they expedited that negotiation. I think they got it done right after the season to quell it.
Are you saying that we in the media accelerated his contract signing? I kind of doubt that.
You think
he should thank us, though?
In the Vikings shoes, you're in the Vikings shoes.
If I'm in the Vikings shoes, I don't care if someone has trade rumors about this guy. It doesn't affect me at all. What are you talking about?
I think the Wilfs care. I think they would care if they were viewed as like dragging their feet on an elite coach and not locking him up in timely fashion. I think they would care about that perception. I think.
Who do you think cares more, Mark or Ziggy?
Mark.
100%.
Actually, Leonard.
Wow, I did not expect that to be that
great.
Ziggy,
that was awesome.
Yeah. Well, okay. I don't think you care about it either way, because what do you care about more, like weird trade rumors or having your coach and GM sign their contracts at the same time? Like that also doesn't matter.
Do you think they split it up because they don't want both of them to feel attached to the hip, or like for them, like if they
they like
go,
that.
They like we let one go. Now we got to let the other go in 3-4 years.
Kwesi's not answering his phone because he's doing the draft. So Kevin, you want to just sign this? Like that's. I feel like it's just
I think one was just easier to do. I think they want to attach them at the hip. Sam, did you go back and because we had a prediction for when Kwesi would sign the contract? Did you go back and figure out what our predictions were?
I said it by the end of May, so I missed it by 2 days.
Yeah, you might. Okay, I don't. Are we doing Prices Right rules? Because you might have won if we aren't.
Yeah.
While someone else is talking, I'm going to look it up. My question to you would be: are you good now that the two are locked up long term? KOC 5 years.
I was always
probably close to that. I think it's a no brainer. I think that you've got a culture where you don't have to sacrifice everything in the name of being successful. I think that marked the Zimmer era at times. It was like, all right, we are going to win, but we are going to be miserable about it. Like that's kind of the way it felt.
Sounds like a you problem.
I respect that.
I don't think there's misery in the building. I don't think that's the case. I think this is a great move. I think it was always going to be the move. I don't think there was any question whether this move was going to be made.
Yeah. Everybody on the same page. Everybody's happy, right? Everybody. Yeah. I mean, there's no qualms
I don't think anybody wanted him to like go and do a contract here as the GM and then just like become a free agent.
No. Yeah.
You'll get a comp pick for that, man. Like.
Yeah. Right. What's your devil's advocate? Like they haven't won a playoff game yet? Or his drafting in 2022,
the devil's advocate is drafting and trading.
Yeah. There is a stat from the Star Tribune that 12 of 23 Kwesi draft picks are no longer on the team, which is pretty wild because there's only been 3 drafts. Like that's
3 drafts.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
again,
not like
most of that is fueled by the 2022 draft being bad, and then a couple that we have to kind of hold out on. So I would like to see another draft go poorly because 2023 went pretty well, and 24.
You heard it here, folks. Luke Braun wants the Vikings to draft poorly. That's right from his mouth.
I want to see him go up in flames.
Flip it,
because you, listener, deserve that.
Flip it.
Yeah, I'm with you.
All right,
I'm with you. I know we're gonna get into the worst trades. What Will Raget's had the worst? How far back? Last decade.
Last
obviously.
Decade. So Will Raget's was
brought up, but.
I don't know if we're doing this right now, but like Will Raget's was inspired by a Bleacher Report piece that said that the worst trade of the last decade was the Sam Bradford trade, which he regards as a ridiculous notion. And I agree with Will.
He came up with 4 worst ones, and I think he's right on all 4 counts. Yeah.
We lost our quarterback 2 weeks before the season starts, dude. What are we supposed to do?
So thank you, Kwesi, for giving us fodder for this piece. You deserve this contract extension, if at least just for that. No, but I think if we wanted to talk a little bit more about Kwesi, he's been, from what we can tell, pretty poor in the draft. Again, a lot of that is just based off of the one draft we have definitive results for. But not that great at grabbing trade value, right?
The value, yeah.
All of that is going to get washed away depending on how good JJ McCarthy is, and we will evaluate his fate as a GM based solely on the 1 pick, which is how it should be. And then we get to talk about how insanely good he is at free agency. I feel like that's something that sometimes we talk about it enough, but I just feel like generally speaking, not enough people have a good understanding of how ridiculously cracked he is at generating value in free agency. Some of that I should give credit to Brian Flores for maximizing some of these players. Like, was it Kwesi's idea to grab Andrew Van Ginkel? Probably not. But still, I think that he's done a really great job in free agency, and he deserves some credit for that.
Yeah, I echo that. And then also, too, a thing I think that gets overshadowed because the 2022 draft was so bad is, like, think about how when he got here, what a God bless Rick Spielman. Everybody knows I love Trader Rick, but, like, the mess Rick Spielman left behind those first, not just 1 year, but 2 years. Kwesi had to come in and clean up. That mess was brutal. I mean, and from Spielman's perspective, like, he was kind of at the end of the leash. He was so pot committed to kicking the can down the road and trying to go all in those last couple of years. But it was an absolute, it's like the landlord who comes in, kicks the tenant out, and the last day the landlord comes in. It's like the grass hasn't been mowed all summer. There's ants and cockroaches in the kitchen. The dishes are piled up. Like, the roster was so old and so expensive. And for him to do that competitive rebuild, which we all kind of rolls our eyes at. What? No.
You want to get off your chest?
No. How much time?
Careful what you say about landlords on this panel, okay? You might hurt someone.
Oh.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Are we getting too real? Are we getting too real?
No. I want my position to be clear. Mao had some points to make. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay, we got to rescue this podcast. The issue with Kwesi has probably been the 2022 draft and then, like, a couple of other things, but I do think it's, like, incredibly overblown. And I think in terms of whether or not you should give him a contract extension, like, I reiterate that, like, coaches and GMs on the hot seat get contract extensions. So this is not the time when you make that decision. You make that decision after seasons and stuff. And any idea that they weren't going to give him a contract or that there was any, like, trepidation about it at all was people just trying to clickbait you, like my favorite reporter in the world.
Yeah, go look at the 31 other teams and really deep dive into their GMs and their history and their moves that they made, and think about what Kwesi's done from a roster management construction standpoint in his first 3 seasons, knowing full well, if JJ pans out, the best is definitely yet to come. And even outside of that, outside of just the JJ, the roster construction they have for the next 4 or 5 years under wraps. I mean, there's only, I would say, a handful or two at most in the league that we think and view as, like, being great GMs in the league. And I'm not saying Kwesi's there yet, but again, they haven't won a playoff game. He botched the 2022 draft, all this and that. But I just think you got to be impressed with what he's done his first 3 years collectively, top to bottom as a whole. And he definitely deserves that extension.
Yep. Bottom line
about the competitive rebuild stuff too, and how, like, everyone made a lot of fun of that, and it just absolutely happened.
Yeah, we all rolled our eyes at the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Their roster is complete, and they were competitive the whole time.
They won 13 and 14 game seasons, and the year in between, they lost their starting quarterback, who was on a MVP trajectory halfway through the year. Like, what?
Yeah.
I will say that first season of them winning 13 games was a bit insane. Like, I don't know how much we can attribute to the competitive rebuild, but, like, because, like, I mean, I should knock it too much.
Wouldn't give them that credit.
Yeah, right? But it's just
you don't give the 2021 Vikings, who lost 1 million close games, like, oh yeah, but they were all everybody got fired. Like, it's how it goes.
Well, they should get a trophy.
I do. They don't.
The 14 win season was just tremendous validation for the 13 win season, to say that it wasn't a fluke when you had your preferred quarterback.
That 13 win season no longer being the best Kwesi season is kind of huge. Yeah.
Well,
no, that's big. That's big.
Even the season in between, where everybody's just going to look back and say, oh, they took a step back there. Think about what they did with the Josh Dobbs and the Nick Mullins Lions.
Yeah, it was crazy.
It was still crazy and fun and entertaining.
Something that Kwesi gets credit for.
Kwesi, I mean, the Wolves hired Kwesi, and Kwesi has put fans in the seat and created a lot of excitement ever since he's been here, and did the opposite of polls. Instead of tearing the whole thing down and telling your season ticket holders, like, yeah, we're going to suck these next 2 years. Okay. It's going to be a 3-4 year window process. But Kwesi did the opposite and kind of hit on both spectrums of, like, the business side and the football side as well.
We nominate career year candidates on both sides of the ball for the Vikings next. Also, I have a couple updates on our offseason predictions that I found in my email inbox. That is next. We're brought to you today by LinkedIn. If you're a small business owner, man, you got to work hard. You got to work long hours. You got to work weekends. And you need partners. You need colleagues that work as hard as you do. That's where LinkedIn Jobs comes in. LinkedIn Jobs is, in fact, one of those partners. They are helping you hire, and they're making it easy for you. You share it with your network. You get qualified candidates. You use the hashtag hiring frame in your profile picture. You double your reach to qualified candidates. 72% of small businesses say LinkedIn helps them find high-quality hires, and they help you write the job descriptions with the Post Your Job tool. It's extremely convenient. It's easy. Great reach. Great candidates. I swear. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL, and you will not regret it. LinkedIn.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, we made some off-season predictions on January the 21st. I have record of Inmans. January. I have record of Inmans and my own. Do not have record of Braun and Arif. Maybe you guys have it deep in the recesses of your inbox. But Luke Inman did a pretty good job. Now,
hold on. What's that?
Yeah, record it. Press record so you can have this.
I can hear that.
We are recording this. Yeah,
Verizon.
We are recording. The whole point is that we are recording.
Recording's available on the Locked On Minnesota Sports and Locked On Vikings YouTube channel.
Love that.
Indeed,
for us, all of us equally love that.
I said the Vikings would sign Asante Samuel Jr. How's that looking? Luke Inman had them with Milton Williams. Those did not pan out, but Luke Inman did predict correctly. Their first-round draft pick will be an offensive lineman. He said the Vikings would have 5 draft picks. That was exactly correct. He said that KOC would sign a contract by March 12th, which I think was still late, but
not
pretty close. Wasn't it? Was it February? January?
I'm on it.
I think it was Feb.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we'll check that.
Yeah, I think that's right.
His bonus prediction: Kwesi will keep the trend
January
going and
21st.
trade at least one draft pick for
Pretty
a
late.
veteran player of some kind. Sam Howell. So good job, Luke Inman. Well done.
Appreciate that. Hey, broken clock twice a day.
Yeah, I'm still gonna need to.
I'm gonna suggest that I was more right until we have evidence to the contrary.
As you should.
Yeah,
as you should.
I'm pretty sure I called a lot of like cornerback stuff that didn't happen. If I remember that segment.
Wow, what a pity.
I thought we did
right.
I thought we did a Kwesi like 3 episodes or 4 episodes ago, just guessing.
Yeah, I thought we did it a couple episodes ago.
Yeah, we did that. I remember thinking it would be in the month.
Maybe it was
May,
when Sam was gone.
too.
Actually, I can't remember now.
I think I said right before training camp, which oops. But if it's Price is Right rules, I win. I think.
Well, let's not make it that then.
Yeah, we're not doing that.
We could just make whatever rules we want. We can't.
could
We
do
don't
that.
have to use
This is
an old game show.
Offensive side of the ball, Luke Inman. Give me a career year candidate for the Minnesota Vikings.
Okay, didn't do any prep on this one. I apologize. I was just looking at my defensive guy. I do have a defensive guy, but Jordan Addison, tough knowing the suspensions looming. JJ, boy, the numbers, the bar is
Can't
so
use
high.
JJ.
No, the
Can't
bar's
use JJ.
so high, right?
Be a hot take.
And then outside of that, you're getting into like what predictions about offensive linemen, CJ Ham. How about Hawkinson? I would have to pull up Hawkinson's numbers, but just knowing he's 2 years removed from the knee injury, you got a young quarterback probably going to lean on
He
this
would
tight
need
end
like
quite a bit.
like. Didn't he have an 800-yard year recently? Like he would need a 1,000-yard year to hit.
He had
Or a tight
950
end?
in 2023.
Yeah, so he would need like a 1,000-yard year to hit a career
Okay,
year.
so like 60 yards a game.
Yeah, no problem.
Fine. Yeah, love it.
Yeah.
So who you going
this
with?
one's tough because it would be yeah. You go.
So what do you got?
No. I agree that this one's tough because you would need more than 1,800 from Jefferson, right? And I think that's asking quite a bit. I think Jordan Mason's cheating a little bit. I think Jordan Addison is tough because of the looming suspension. I don't want to pick like a Jalen Naylor. That'd be kind of weird. So we're at like an unusual spot. I don't think it's going to be Aaron Jones. JJ McCarthy doesn't count. PhD says 960 yards in 2023 for Hawkinson. So yeah,
And it doesn't need to be yards. Maybe it's touchdowns. Maybe it's receptions.
Sure. I'm going to go with Christian Darrisaw. I think that's probably the easiest one to go with. He'll have a full, healthy season, all 17 games. Beautiful, no sacks allowed. The greatest tackle you've ever seen. That's what they're saying.
It's true.
Yeah, I think it'll be Christian Darrisaw, who will give credit to the number 71 and his homage to Trent Williams.
I just saw like a PFF top 10 tackles in the league. Darrisaw was like,
oh, the suspense.
Yeah, what's going on?
Luke
I thought that
freezes.
was me because of my.
That is a heck of a freeze frame.
That's crazy.
Cool.
Amazing.
I think Darrisaw was like 5th or something, by the way. But
yeah,
it was also
a
really weird ranking because they had Jordan Mailata number 1, and no one liked that, not even Eagles fans, because they're like, wait, he's not even the best tackle on their team. Like, what are you doing? Which I think is fair. I think that's correct.
Anytime you get like a player-by-player O-line ranking, you're gonna get some weird stuff because like very few people are like Brandon Thorning it, where they really watch everybody.
Yeah. So
how about
Luke
how
is
about,
still?
Oh yeah, he's real frozen.
He
How about
probably
Will
tried
Fries?
no power lads.
Will Fries as an offensive line candidate, he's only had really one full year. I mean, he had 1,000 snap season in 2023. Would not be hard for him to have his best season as a pro.
We confident he'll have a full year here?
Nope.
Yeah, that was what had my that was one of my first ideas, and then I was like, I don't know if I can quite trust the guy coming off of injury, which is the same reason I'm not going to say Darrisaw. I'm going to go with TJ Hawkinson. 960, as the chat pointed out, he was on pace for 1,000 before he got hurt in 2023. You're going to have 3 games, no Addison. I'm going to guess TJ Hawkinson's going to be a big deal in those games. So I'll say TJ Hawkinson career year. I kind of want to say McCarthy though, because like the second or third year rookie contract and all that stuff, like third year, Jalen Hurts goes to the Super Bowl. Second year, Joe Burrow goes to the Super Bowl. Like that kind of is when it happens.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
So so McCarthy could have his career year for his whole career.
Yep.
Now
and then never top it.
Yeah.
Right now. NFC Championship loss and then never top it. That's how this goes. I mean, is that not Vikingsy?
Another good lesson that progress or it's not always linear. You know?
Well, I mean, it could be the case that he becomes a better quarterback over time. He improves at things like pocket management, accuracy, anticipation, etc. But he'll never hit the NFC Championship game again.
I did put Jordan Mason, and I uncovered a couple good nuggets. So let me ask you this: what is the best running back season for a Viking since Peterson in 12? What would you say?
Dalvin Cook 2020, I would guess.
Yeah, I can't pull up a specific year for Dalvin Cook, but sure, yeah.
That would be the correct statistical answer. Probably right. He was really good that year. That was his last great year.
4 touchdowns in Lambeau?
4 touchdowns in Lambeau, the screen pass for 50 yards. Dalvin Cook that year had 4.99 yards per carry. So I'm not counting it. I'm not counting it as a 5-yard per carry season. The last Vikings running back with a qualifying amount of snaps. The last guy to have 5 yards per carry was Peterson in 12. I think Jordan Mason can eclipse that.
On how many carries, Sam?
He did it last year with 150. That's not nothing. Welcome back, Inman. Told you not to open our lads.
No, it was pro ref, and I believe him.
Oh.
Let me look up Jay Hawkinson career stats.
All that spyware.
Let me borrow your hotspot. Let me borrow your hotspot real quick.
Yep. So if Jordan Mason matches his yards per carry from last year with San Francisco and gets 11 carries per game, he's 1,000-yard back. Think about that. 1,000-yard back. Inman, you missed it. Vikings haven't had a 5-yard per carry back since Peterson in 12. In the 2000.
Yeah, he's hiding a little bit of information from you.
I'm not. How am I hiding it?
Dalvin Cook had
you are not wrong.
Dalvin Cook had a 4.99 yard per carry season. So again, Sam is not lying, but I would argue that is. I would argue that in the context of this statistic, that is important information.
Why do I feel like there's Russell Wilson propaganda in here somewhere? I don't know where. I don't know where it's hidden, but it's in there somewhere.
It could not be more objective. Since when is Arif
Stats are
round
stats,
up
man.
guy. Round
black
up.
and
No,
white,
no,
dude.
hold
It's
on,
binary.
hold on.
One given
My
zero.
my argument. Hold on. My argument has always been that every way that you use statistics is subjective. So, for example, choosing a 5 yards per carry mark is a subjective choice that you made. Like I think that's
what if he did
evidence.
5.01?
A couple more inches and he
You
crosses
feel
the
better?
line.
5.01?
Yeah,
Better?
5.01.
Come on,
it's
man.
just as arbitrary. It's just as arbitrary to pick 5.01. Sure, fine.
Let's do this now since we're talking offensive.
We got a whole
breakout
summer of
candidates.
this, by the way.
Well, the
Strap
shenanigans are gonna get bizarre.
Like and subscribe.
Guess the FanDuel. I don't think we've done this yet. Guess the FanDuel lines on Jefferson and then Addison.
Wait, did we do defense? Sorry.
Oh yeah, we did.
Oh,
We'll get to it.
Oh,
We'll get to
sorry.
it. Let's
Sorry.
just
Okay,
let's
sure.
tackle
Yep,
this while
yep.
we have the offense on our mind. Jefferson and Addison. Guess.
Jefferson, my guess on his FanDuel line is 1350. Okay.
1395.
1350. So I'll go lowest on this one. And for Addison, 975.
Ooh, I like that. Ooh, I like that.
849 for Addison.
I like 975 too.
Did you
So
say
I'll say
849?
950. I'll say
Yeah,
950.
I don't think the vibes are high on him.
Okay, sure.
Even though like that would be his worst year yet. That also would be Jefferson's worst year yet.
Yeah, so 1375
yeah.
and 950 for me.
Okay. You're all high on Jefferson, and I think it's a bad line. Like once again, I think
What?
there's value here.
Sorry, his line is the lowest he's ever had. That's his line.
Oh, because people just don't think the quarterback can do anything. Okay.
1250. 12.
Hey, I've watched Larry Fitzgerald ground out 1,000-yard seasons with like I can't even remember the name. Drew Henson. I don't remember the names of these quarterbacks that he's had, and he's ground out 1,000-yard seasons. Mike Evans has done it with the melange of quarterback-like objects that they've had in Tampa Bay.
Clayton Tune. No, that's too recent. Sorry.
Kevin Cobb?
Clayton Tune. First half of
Drew
year Joshua
Stanton.
Dobbs. Drew Stanton, that's
Anderson.
what I was thinking of. Yeah.
Derek Anderson, that's a perfect one.
Drew Stanton.
John
Derek Anderson,
Skeleton.
you think I don't love this game, Derek Anderson. John Skelton, let's go.
How about the Josh Rosen year?
So, jeez. So the idea, like Larry Fitzgerald, like grinding out these like impressive statistical seasons, maintaining his status as like a top 20 wide receiver in fantasy, top 12 often.
He's gonna get his, for sure.
I just feel like Jefferson, like I think the worse of a quarterback you are, the more likely you are to just zero in on Justin Jefferson. Mm-hmm. I think that you're probably going to get over 1,200 yards. That's crazy to me.
Also,
and if he's not open, you go to your safety blanket. You go to TJ Hawk.
Slot said second half of year, Kyler.
Yeah, just as good as John Skelton. True.
That's good.
Yeah, Call of Duty release day, Kyler.
I think wasn't Josh McCown on that Fitzgerald resume at some point?
We don't got to talk about that.
Oh, we don't.
No, don't worry about
it.
No.
Is the receptions on there?
Oh, I didn't see that. You can check. I didn't see that.
What was Addison then?
By the way, Addison, you're all high again. 800.
There's no way he's at 975 if Jefferson's at 1250.
800 on I think that's a good line because missing 3, maybe sure. I still think he's vulnerable to injury with the ankles. And I also think that Hawkinson now being around all offseason, there to eat up targets with your young quarterback. I think 800 is a good line.
Yeah, if it was 799.99, I'd feel a lot better about it. But you know, you got to be subjective about this stuff. That's what I always say that. I've always said that.
It's important to note that FanDuel views him as an 800-yard receiver and not below. It's important to note that.
So you can push on that line. I'm surprised they didn't give it a hook point.
No, there's a hook. Yeah. It's 800.5. I'm just saying.
Okay.
I'm rounding.
So that's was at 50. If we're assuming
it's about 50.
If we're assuming a 3-game suspension, that's almost 60 yards a game. So that's actually, I get that. I understand.
It's kind of on his career mark. And I for Jefferson, I did the math. He could miss like a month. He could miss like 4 games with injury and reduce his yards per game career to like from 96 to like 90, and he would still beat the line. I'm just befuddled.
It's funny because he did this with like Nick Mullins and Josh Dobbs too. Yeah. It's not like he's a quarterback dependent player.
Okay. I mean, also he did it with Sam Darnold. Like flowers to Sam Darnold, props to Sam. But like, let's be serious, right? Like they find a way.
Serious about Justin Jefferson. He's hit that over every year, but the one he
every single year. Every single yeah, but by yards per game, if you'd cut his yards per game in half for the second half of that season, he would have beat his FanDuel projection. Like it's crazy.
It's just like stealing every time.
Yeah,
they're also very inexact lines. Like they're not customized per player. It's like they kind of they go
there's
like
a lot of players at 800.
Yeah, they're kind of like tiered. All right, career year candidates. On defense, super quick pause, then we get to that Minnesota football party. Braun, defense guy, go.
Oh my God. Okay. Nope. I was going to say Javon Hargrave, but he got 11 sacks in 2022. That's a lot.
Was he one of the Eagles that had six double-digit sack guys that year?
Yeah, he was one of that insane defense. How about another step forward for Jonathan Grenard?
Ooh, that would be fantastic.
Okay. Well, I guess Wow. Yeah, I mean that would be.
I don't know what I'm saying there, but that's the next name that was on my list.
Well, because he's always had a high pass rush win rate, and his sacks have been good, but they haven't been. They haven't.
12 sacks 2 years in a row. So 13 sacks.
Given his pressure numbers, that's very doable. So I understand that.
Yeah.
Andrew Van Ginkel is going to be impossible to beat, I think, unless we're very particular about what metrics.
3 pick sixes.
And picking essentially a first-year player like Dallas Turner feels like cheating. So, man, this one's tough. I'm going to go with Byron Murphy. Yeah. I think that it's possible for him to outdo a lot of his metrics and still be a high-level player. I'm not going to say he didn't deserve the Pro Bowl last year. I think it's fair that he got into the Pro Bowl. But I don't know that the level of play that he demonstrated last year brings up the image that we have when we think of the worst Pro Bowl cornerback. And I think that he can kind of solidify his stance as one of the better corners in the league with a better year this year, just in terms of yards per, yards given up per snap and coverage or interceptions or whatever. Plus, hey, there's more interceptions to go around. That's how it works, right? With Cameron Bynum gone, there's free interceptions to be had on the table.
Yeah, I don't think there are actually a ton of candidates because you look at all the interior D linemen. They're probably all going to take a snap reduction. A lot of them are on the wrong side of 30. You've got a couple that just don't count. Theo Jackson doesn't count. Isaiah Rodgers has never been a full-time starter. Doesn't count. There's two guys I'm thinking of.
Ivan Pace.
Actually, yes. That's one of the two.
Let's go.
Ivan Pace is arguably a top 10 run defending linebacker and a bottom 10 coverage linebacker.
Yep.
If that coverage becomes, and he's got the speed, he's got the agility, if he can learn to diagnose and not make mental mistakes and become just an average, average coverage
linebacker.
Keep his
brain off. Yeah, he just has to keep his brain on from whistle to whistle. Sometimes his brain goes off and he just kind of keeps running to the sideline. He's like, "Where are you going, bud?"
Mm-hmm.
I actually was going to roll with. I got Ivan Pace as well, but more so to your point here, Sam. I think with the defensive linemen that they brought in playing behind now, Jonathan Allen, Hargrave, Harrison Phillips in the middle, that's only going to help him even more. And then I think just knowing what his strengths and weaknesses are, making him maybe not try to do too much and maybe finding this niche little role as this run defender. And maybe it's just tackles, a career year in tackles. His first rookie year, he played all 17 games. Last year, I think he missed 6 games. If he can stay healthy, playing in front of this defensive line, I think tackles wise, especially knowing that it's pretty much just him and Cashman back there in this Flores system, I think he could have a career year numbers wise statistically with at least tackles. I feel like tackles for loss, even maybe that as well.
Yeah, we should probably mention Josh Metellus. He's probably going to have more snaps than he had in previous years, right? Because he would rotate out every once in a while with Cam Bynum staying on the field. So at the very least, he's going to have more volume to deal with. And probably be that much more of a pillar of the defense.
And I would also nominate Jeffrey Okudah. I think that if Okudah finds his way into that CB3 role, if he has a Shaq Griffin type of year from last year, which was not spectacular or not bad by any means, but if he's like a meaningful starting cornerback on a good football team and is occasionally brilliant, I think that could be a Jeff Okudah.
Well, think about this too. If he does just outright win that cornerback 3 job, and then like Murphy or Isaiah Rodgers gets hurt for like 6-8 weeks, I'm assuming he's the guy. He's the full-time guy, right? That he's just the next in line, I would assume. And that's a huge opportunity for somebody like that has that early draft pedigree, top 5 pick, all that stuff, but maybe can kind of turn around his career a little bit in this new defense with Flores.
No doubt. By the way, Ron Johnson is going to be joined by Theo Jackson. That'll drop tomorrow. Ron Johnson hanging with Theo Jackson. That'll drop tomorrow on the Ron Johnson show. All right. So Bleacher Report released a story with the worst trade, I think, for every team. And they said the worst Vikings trade of the last decade was Sam Bradford acquisition from Philadelphia in exchange for what, a 1 and 4. First round pick was the big asset there. And Will Raggets poked back at that and bring me the news, which it's super valid. Listed off.
Hey, the Vikings have been way worse than that.
Way worse than that.
They've done so many worse things. Have you even heard of Chris Herndon?
Rick Spielman giving away mid-round draft picks like they were candy, like they grew on trees. Chris Herndon.
For him, they kind of did. In fairness to him, they did kind of grow on trees for him.
Yeah.
Correct.
Sometimes Sean Payton calls you with a whole day 3 for no reason.
Can always trade back for more. Chris
Sometimes
Herndon
really
for
want
a
Adam
4.
Troutman. It's fine.
Corey Vedvik for a 5.
Jesus.
Corey Vedvik for a 5.
Yeah.
That was
He can
nuts.
kick any can punt, Sam.
Save a roster
He sucks
spot.
at both, but he does have both the letters.
But he
by his
does.
name.
But he does do both. That's
He
accurate.
does both. Not well.
I feel like every other kicker in the league was like, well, I can punt too, though, but I'm not good at
Right,
it.
yeah, hey, if you
I
ask,
be that
You want
good
me
at
to
it.
do that?
I can.
I'll
screw up.
be
I mean,
better at
I
kicking
can
the whole
do
time.
I can screw up. I can miss
As
all
long
your
as there's no one blocking
for
them.
free.
Will led with the Yannick Ngakoue trade, which is about as far as I got before my power went out. So that's my understanding of the article.
Yeah.
Is the Yannick Ngakoue
leading
trade.
sack.
Yeah, 2020
man.
sack leader.
Yeah, which
Yannick
he
Ngakoue.
finished the year as the sack leader, which is the important element to that.
Yeah.
This is where I knew it was going to be bad for Ngakoue. Before the season, I asked Andre Patterson. I said, "Hey, when you inherit a pass rusher with as much resume and credibility and pedigree as Yannick Ngakoue, you kind of let him do his thing, or are you trying to change him?" And he's like, "I'm going to change him. I'm going to make him do what I want. Like I'm going to make him."
Andre Patterson, dude.
Yeah. Yep.
Mhm.
And it did not work at all.
Hey, but when he sits down in meetings with guys in free agency, they have stars in their eyes because they are dazzled by him. That's a thing he said. They're dazzled by him.
By me.
Thanks, Andre.
Is he
I'm the one
still?
speaking.
Where is Patterson? Is he still with New York?
No, he's somewhere though. But he's coaching. I don't think he's in New York anymore.
Got it.
Yeah, no, he is. New York Giants.
So
He is.
so
Wow.
Ngakoue-
Good for him.
There was one
So
more.
Reviving
Ngakoue
Kayvon
comes in-
Thibodeau. Let's go.
See, so the Yannick thing for me, like when Hunter, it's kind of like the Bradford. When somebody that is such a focal point of whether it's your offense or defense goes down, that quickly before week 1, like you're just stuck in a rock and a hard spot here. Like I'm gonna have to overpay. I'm not gonna get great value. And there's not gonna be a lot of options out here either. So like I just know value wise, I'm going in with an L. And yeah, Yannick obviously didn't pan out, had clearly just didn't care on first and second down, was just there to collect a check on third down and pin his ears back and get after the passer, which I'm sure Mike Zimmer just loved. But it's just, it was a tough spot. Like you got one arm time behind your back when it's like, all right, we got to make a move. We can't go into the year with, I would love to actually look that up, 2020, who was on their depth chart behind Yannick and Hunter.
It's 20 sack haver DJ Wanham was on that.
It was
team.
Wanham. Okay.
DJ Afadi.
I
feel like
Afadi was on that
And
team.
Wanham was what? That was his first year. Was that Wanham's first year though?
I
He was
think
a
that was
rookie?
his first year because
I think he was a
Patterson,
rookie.
because
Yeah,
the
he was for the
inestimable
2020 draft.
Andre Patterson compared him to Daniil Hunter. I remember that.
Yeah.
Now, the other one I was, by the way,
to
to nominate Jalen Reagor. I mean, a 5th and a 7th, which is not everything, but for what you got, I mean, that's.
I think
you could blow routes and cause pick sixes against the Colts.
Yeah, I think just the fact that you got less out of Kari Vedvik than you did out of Jalen Reagor automatically disqualifies Reagor from this conversation.
True. Yeah, like 5th round pick to immediately not make the team is probably as bad as you can get. Although I have a maybe a worse value play. Everybody talks about the trade down in 2022 is like the thing. You trade past Kyle Hamilton, you trade you trade the 12th overall pick to the Lions so they can get their wide receiver 3. Like there's all kinds of
wide receiver 3. That was
they can get their first round wide receiver 3 like they always wanted. But the next day, like the reason that 2022 trade feels so bad is because all the trade down value you're supposed to get didn't come to fruition. And the reason it didn't come to fruition is because you traded it up with the Colts to pick Andrew Booth. That feels like a much worse. That feels terrible. Trade down, not get as much of a guy versus trade up, get a guy that gets cut before. Like, oof.
Top of head. What was the compensation for the first trade down to go down 20 spots? What did they get for that?
They got
they traded 12 and like 60 or 50 something, and they got 32, 34 and like 66, something like that.
Okay. Yeah. Wow.
No, it was like 12 and 46 for 32, 34 and 66.
Yeah, it was like a first and a second for 2 seconds and a third, I think.
Yeah.
Good job. Holy crap, Luke.
And then
I lost a lot of sleep about that. So
and 66 was Ed Ingram, right? Like that's
I think that was Asamoah, was it not?
No,
or
it was
that
Asamoah. It was Asamoah. No, it was Asamoah.
66 was
and then
round pick.
They traded down again with the Packers, which is maybe the best thing about that because that
was a good one.
Packers trade out Christian Watson, who might not make the team this year. Isn't
he hurt?
It's bad. It's like rough.
But okay, you say isn't he hurt as if that hasn't been his constant state of being?
Yeah,
the anomalies are when he's
really legitimately really hurt. Like he's really hurt, isn't he?
He didn't play in the regular season of his final year of college. Like he's always really hurt.
He got
really
back.
Well, when you play South Dakota State Jackrabbits, twice
he
a year.
showed up. He
came back last year from the Kamu injury, right? Because he got hurt on that interception where they landed.
That's right.
I think he came back from that.
I think he came back from that and then got.
But he's like wide receiver 4 now.
Hey, at least people are still talking about him. People don't even know who Andrew Booth is anymore. Is he still?
On
the
at
Cowboys?
least people talk. Yeah, that's a good point.
Who got traded for Nashawn Wright, and the Vikings might have won that one.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah.
What was Nashawn Wright still in the franchise?
So that's a win for Kwesi.
Watson tore his ACL.
Trading down and missing the pick and the guy getting cut in 3 years feels worse than trading up and the guy gets cut in 3 years, or doesn't feel worse than trading up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you
mean. Let's also fondly remember that in the Chris Herndon era, which by the way ended after the year in Minnesota, he did not continue in the NFL, and the Vikings gave him They gave the Jets a 4th round pick to acquire him.
They also the very same day they acquired him, I think that was the day they grabbed, I want to say Ben Ellefson off of waivers, and Ellefson was higher up on the depth chart like immediately.
Yeah.
Like Ellison's a guy that grabbed off of waivers.
Yeah.
Yeah. The one NDSU guy I've ever praised, Ben Ellefson.
He's got those Minnesota ties. Herndon, for the longest time, had more penalties than receptions. I think he eventually beat his penalty count. He had 4 receptions and I think 3 penalties.
King.
It was
that is outstanding.
Love that for him. Love that for him.
You know that he tried. You know that he played hard.
Yeah.
That is like
You're not trying. Yeah.
Trust the like that. That was maybe the last time ever as a football fan that I'll trust the well, he might figure it out here thing. That it was like he was all the narrative was but he was hurt and then it's the Jets and all this.
I'm always quarterback and it's the system. And
I'm always going to be receptive. I'm always going to be receptive to a good "it's the Jets" argument. If I'm being honest, I got burned by Chris Herndon, but let's be real.
like that was. I'd be lying if I didn't say it's like, yeah, I mean, I know Sam Darnold's problems happened on the Jets, but we said that about Chris Herndon. Like, I'd be lying if that didn't happen in my brain a little bit.
We said that about Chris Herndon.
By the way, when you said Ben Ellefson, my mind heard Rhett Ellison, and I thought about some good throwback memories with Rhett. Hey, another Spielman win, day 3.
I loved Rhett, and
value.
I loved
good value,
and I loved that Ricky Ellison was Chris Thomason's greatest source.
Just sitting on the porch, right?
Yeah, Ricky Ellison was like a fellow on a nuclear weapons security council, and he's like texting Thomason like, the Vikings aren't giving my boys a chance. Like, what in the work, dude?
He got
back to work.
Ricky Ellison just ripping on Ricky Spielman. Off the record, on back.
Off the record. Yeah, off the record. Of course.
We have 10 minutes if you want to ask questions, by the way. Drop a question in the chat. We'll answer it. We got about, like I said, 10 minutes time. Yeah, Sam Darnold, by the way, did produce Chris Herndon's career year in 2018. Rookie year for Darnold, rookie year for Herndon. Like they were probably talking about the Darnold to Herndon connection in this time in 2019. They're like, all right, Herndon's coming back to camp. He's got a full off season with the playbook. Sam Darnold's coming back to camp. This is going to be the next who's a great tight end in Jets history. This is going to be the Joe Namath to fill in the blank.
Who was the Jets had 4 first-round picks early 2000, and they drafted a tight end with one of them.
Because of the Bill Belichick thing, if I remember correctly. I don't remember which tight end you're talking about.
Kyle Brady, maybe, or something like that.
Wow, okay. I just want to know if Sam Darnold ever texted Herndon before signing with the Vikings. He's like, hey, what was your experience here? Or if they just don't talk anymore.
Possible. Anthony Becht is the guy you're trying to
Anthony Becht. Nice.
Yeah, there you go.
Nice.
Good pull.
Is he an agent now?
What do you think would happen if you went back in time to a 2019 Vikings fan, watching them like scrape to the 6th seed and being like, hey, take a look at the Jets real quick. You see the future of the franchise? You're gonna
real familiar with that roster. It's good, I promise.
And you're gonna be pretty happy about some of it. Like
Macho Meech, in light of the worst trades the Vikes did, what's the worst one they did not do that you can remember?
What's the worst trade they didn't do?
Trent Williams.
Yeah.
It's not their fault. Trent Williams kind of told them no, but I'm still counting.
Yep.
They could have had Trent Williams.
That's got to be number 1 right now with a bullet until somebody else can think of one.
Probably not trading Danielle Hunter when his neck was wonky. I remember that was like a thing.
They got like a third though.
Well, I'm looking at teams that traded for guys like Jalen Ramsey to the Dolphins. What did he cost? I know the big massive contract.
Oh, actually, Kyle Rudolph before his contract extension.
No, that's not.
Kyle Rudolph before his contract extension. There were a bunch of trade rumors, and they eventually just extended his contract. And that was they should have traded because the rumor was they could have gotten a late second for him, which would have been insane given what ended up happening. Like he wasn't bad, but he wasn't late second good for the rest of his career after that. So that would have been good.
Probably the most visibly noticeable slowdown at the end of a dude's career, Kyle Rudolph. Just like physically looking so slow.
True, and also very funny when you juxtapose it with his statements every offseason about how he's finally recovered from the injury he suffered his final year at Notre Dame. That slowed him down. That's my favorite Kyle Rudolph bit is that like my hamstring is fully healthy now. Yeah. Now I'm gonna run a 4.5, and I block a lot. I don't think you guys understand how much I block. I'm like Rob Gronkowski every year.
We didn't ask you about your hamstring, dude. Why is he keeping up the hamstring? Dude?
We know you're just okay. It's fine.
Tom Brady's.
It's fine. It's fine.
Also, I was with Michael Floyd. He drank all that kombucha.
You drank the kombucha.
We watched movies.
It was all kombucha. And he took a swig of it right before he took his scheduled breathalyzer.
No, it's extra strength. It's extra strength. Yeah,
extra
like the 5-hour energy. No, it's extra strength.
Yeah, okay. I kind of miss these shenanigans Vikings. That's the Kwesi's biggest problem is that he hasn't acquired as many shenanigans players aside from Jordan Addison, which shenanigans bordering on danger to other people.
Yeah, it's not like a DWI is not like a fun shenanigan.
Yeah, well, the post DWI
unless it's kombucha related.
Yeah. Acquiring a player post DWI, there's not going to be another DUI, and just having him kind of navigate that world because there's kombucha at the Vikings facility and at his friend Kyle Rudolph's house, where he is staying.
Yeah, like he's an AA sponsor.
Extra strength booch, says PhD. OTAs or OTA week 2 this week. Is there anything that we didn't learn in week 1? I would say yes. I would say that nobody reported anything.
Well, you were big bad. We didn't learn anything.
Yeah, I think there's actually a lot that I would like to know. I would
Get
like
out
to
there,
know.
Sam.
Well, what's the number one thing? The depth chart wise, what? I think we figured out School was at left tackle. Will Fries isn't there yet.
Yep. So you got Brandon playing on the right, Donovan Jackson playing on the left. Brandon was left.
I'll be interested to see if that stays for 2 weeks in a row. 2 OTA sessions, I guess, in a row.
Do they
Brandon's
rotate
on the
anything?
right? Yeah.
I mean, I think you look where you look at where guys are actually all there and healthy. So offensive line, I don't know if you can get a great read when 2 of the 5 are gone.
It did sound like
you can just know where they're snapping them, so that you know what sense for a depth chart that they have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it did sound like everybody else was there outside of Fries and Darisaw, though. Like the guys who were hurt.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Only everybody showed up though.
And maybe Isaiah Rogers.
Unlike Kirk Cousins in Atlanta.
Ooh,
apparently.
Metellus holdout.
That's another thing to watch. By the
odds
way.
of a Metellus holdout
first.
Yeah,
that'd be fun.
Kirk Cousins trade on the table. Post June 1st. Watch Cleveland. It's about to get even sadder.
They definitely need another quarterback. That's for sure. That room is not big enough.
Is thin. Yeah.
If they trade for Kirk Cousins, they can now comfortably cut 3 of those guys, which they have to.
Do the Browns
well, they just drafted
Kirk
2
Cousins,
of them. So
yeah. Do they acquire Kirk Cousins
there
so that they can wait for an actual quarterback injury, so then they can trade Kirk Cousins for more?
I think the Browns are committed enough to induce a quarterback injury to make this happen.
Ooh, wouldn't put it past them.
Yeah.
God, it's so dark.
Take 1 extra lap.
Everything I hear about them is sad.
1 more lap. 1 more rep.
Just till the hamstring tears off the bone. Oh, you heard what Jarvis Landry said.
Big baby. Oh, you tough guy. Yeah, 1 more rep.
So Zach Jackson went on the radio. So the Athletic Zach Jackson, who covers the Browns, went on the radio and said that it's pretty clear that the starter is either Kenny Pickett or Joe Flacco. Sad sentence. And then said, yeah, I guess I'm impressed with Shedeur. It is just OTAs. You can't take too much from OTAs. A lot of these guys are going to look good. I don't think Dylan Gabriel is an NFL quarterback, which is just it's just outstanding that he was like, well, we don't know that much about Shedeur. We can't draw too many conclusions. But this short guy over here, I can't.
I can draw that conclusion.
Okay, nobody pull it up. What do you think the Browns over/under win total is?
6.5.
5.5.
I was going to go 5.5.
4.5.
Whoa!
You do not see much lower than that.
It's dark.
Well,
I think we had a couple 3.5.
When you guys were saying those, right? Like 5.5. You were thinking in your head, and I want the under, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
4.5. I mean, they won 3 games? I want to say last year, 3-14 last year.
Yeah, but that was with Deshaun Watson. They've massively improved the quarterback.
Yeah, they won 11 in 2023. So
have they genuinely had a fire sale though? Have they traded off assets? So is that roster still decent? At least mid?
The secondary is pretty good. Obviously, they still have Myles Garrett. The defensive line is all right, if a little bit old. They've got players.
They got Myles Garrett, and they got they got Graham Mason now too, and Myles Garrett. So
they got Mason Graham. They got Carson Schwetz.
It's just a hodgepodge.
Exciting rookies, but Isaiah
young
McGuire
guys.
is starting. They got Jordan Hicks playing.
Jordan Hicks,
Ronnie Hickman, not Hillman. I don't know if that's better.
Who's our guy? Former Viking
running back for the Broncos.
DT Dalvin Tomlinson. Is he still there?
No.
He just joined Washington, I want to say.
Nick Chubb on the way out, I think, free agent.
But like, I don't know, man. Are we really? You're gonna look us in the eye and limp through a Kenny Pickett year? Like, I don't care how like fire sale rebuild mode you are. At a certain point, you have to like have respect for your season ticket holders.
Agreed.
And I don't know
100%.
if trotting out Kenny Pickett.
Well, and for like your Myles Garrett's, right? You got to be like, hey man, are you sure you want to be here? Like, we can help you.
Calvin Johnson died for this, man. Yeah. Be serious.
Would you say that Kevin Stefanski surviving like the last 2 years is the most impressive like coach?
Is it more impressive than him winning Coach of the Year 2 years before that?
Yeah, honestly.
I don't know. It's like so clear. Like he's so clearly not the problem. Like there are a lot of problems in Cleveland that are nobody's going.
Yeah,
and
but
by
I
the
mean,
way,
like,
Kevin Stefanski's bad.
But not the problem. Not the problem is not usually how these decisions are made, right? It's like, hey, everything sucks and you're in charge, so bye. It's usually how that works.
So yeah, I mean, it kind of
okay. Fair enough. Yeah,
a little more.
He does get a little bit more. But still, I think surviving that is interesting. I want to know what his input was on the Baker Mayfield decision to get rid of him. Like, I think that is probably the critical question. And if he had no input on that, or if he was against it, that's a huge mark for him. Yeah. And maybe that's what the organization is like, hey, we probably should have listened to this. Now, it didn't sound like he liked it, but
have a lot to do with the Deshaun Watson move. Like, he's pretty attached to that. And I think I wonder when that finally they finally do get rid of that ghoul in their soul. I wonder if Stefanski's out the door with him.
If it's like a full cleansing.
Yeah.
Here's the schedule this week. Ron Johnson with Theo Jackson tomorrow. Care 11 show on Wednesday. We'll have some OTA content to discuss after all the reporting. And then Thursday, we're back. Luke Braun might have some trivia for us. That's just a little tease, soft tease. We might have some trivia hosted by Luke Braun coming up this week or next on the Minnesota Football Party.
Or next. Who's to say?
We're streaming on Locked On Vikings on YouTube and on audio wherever you get your podcasts. Check out Luke Inman on the postcasts after every Twins game. Arif Hasan on Wide Left. Luke Braun with Locked On Vikings. I'm Sam Ekstrom. Thanks for watching, listening, commenting, and subscribing. And we will talk to you next time.